everyone, welcome to episode 122 of the Arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel and this is a video podcast where I talk about all the things that I have been knitting and spinning on for the past week. Today it is Saturday, July 12th, and I'm filming in the morning. And it actually feels quite nice and the lighting is really nice right now. The sun is out and so that's always makes the lighting better in this room, and so it feels all really nice and I'm feeling really happy. Have some fun plans for later today. And yeah, let's get right into the episode. So starting off with what I'm wearing today, it is a recently-ish finished object. I'm wearing it, I believe this is the first time wearing it on the podcast because I also finally sewed on buttons on this cardigan. Like just before filming this, I was like, I'm gonna do it. I was already sewing buttons on something else that I will talk about. And I was like, I should just do them all now. But this is the Book Club Cardigan by Sari Nordlund. And the yarn I used is Woolberry Fiber Co. Berry Worsted in the colorway New York in the fall. And I knit size 1. I used US 6 needles, 4.0 millimeter needles. I think that's probably for like, oh, I know, it's because I like changed needles in the middle of this project for the main part of the cardigan, which is weird. But it happened, but I don't think that it really affected too much the outcome of the cardigan, which is great. So I switched from US 6 needles, 4.0 millimeter needles, to US 7 needles, 4.5 millimeter needles, and it was just, it's fine. It's fine. You'll see. It's all fine. And final measurements, I have 39 inches in the circumference of this cardigan with it buttoned up, and that gives me about 9 inches of positive ease. I did follow some modifications for this pattern. I talked about it a lot before in previous videos of the podcast, but just I guess kind of quickly, I followed some modifications that a different user on Ravelry posted, and then Meghan, my friend Meghan, who also has a podcast on YouTube, A Naughty Mess, she reached out to them and asked for a little bit more information on the modifications. And the basically the biggest, or the modification part that we followed was in the back here. This shoulder pickup line, this cable was added, and then also I think some modifications so that the start of the cable pattern is like the top of the diamond versus having some weird like sort of half started diamond type of thing, which I think was in the original. And then also that carried down to the underarm, and so on the side, I'm trying to move out of the light so you can see on the side here, this cable pattern is also in a modification in addition to it. And so I do think that plays a little bit into the slightly bigger size. I think that for this size, size 1, final measurement circumference is supposed to be about like 37.5 inches, I think is what it said, and I have 39, and so I think it's just because there were some extra stitches that were cast on to make those modifications, and that was basically it. But let me stand up so you can see this fully. And I don't believe I made any other modifications. I mean, it already was quite a bit of modification done in the beginning, which honestly kind of made me work on it a little slower in the beginning because there was just a lot to think about. But I followed length pretty much to pattern. I started the pockets at the length that it says. I know some people on other Ravelry projects started the pockets lower, but I started it. I thought that the length, at least for me, on my fit, felt good. I did the pockets the way that the instructions were written to, so that you can actually, like, there's like 3 layers of fabric, just like right here, because of it. But it blocked out really nicely, so it lays a lot more flat than it did before blocking. I did 4 buttons, as you can see here. And I will say it kind of, the top one does feel a little bit high up versus what I feel like a normal, like it's fine, and I think it looks fine, but I feel like maybe like down here is where more my other V-neck cardigans would lay. So this feels slightly high up, but it's fine. What else? I made the sleeves. Okay, I will say the sleeve blocked out a bit after washing. And so I did four pretty much completed diamond. And then right at the end, I did do the final like cross, which I think is actually the beginning of the cable pattern, but I wanted it to just be like, you know, closed off and be done. And it is, I like my sleeves long, so this is a great length. However, I think because it's cabled, when I do have them up like this, it does create this like weird kind of like flat poofy section. But I mean, it's really honestly not that bad. I was just like, oh, it is a bit long, but I mean, I've always said that I prefer a longer length sleeve than a sleeve that's a little too short. But my tolerance for the length is I can deal with a lot. It's just, you know, just a thing I am noting to let you all know what's happening, because for some people it might not. If they're like I don't want, just because of the way that the cables lay, if they're like I don't even want any of this happening, then maybe just shorten it to the actual length that you want versus trying to complete the cable pattern just to get the cable pattern on the sleeve. Anyway, and what else do I have to say about it? I mean, I said this before, but when I started, and it has a double knit button band, which I always think is the prettiest looking button band and neckband situation is a double knit. Oh, I'll turn around because there's cables, of course, all the way around in the back as well. Love this colorway, love this yarn. I feel like it's pretty rare for me to work with a worsted weight yarn. And so this was nice. I mean, it kind of felt DK weight-ish. You know, I didn't really feel like it was like, whoa, like it's super thick yarn. But it was really nice. In the beginning, I felt like this was knitting up really slow, but I think that was just because of the modifications that I did in the beginning and some ripping out that I had to do, that it felt like it was really slow. But when I put it back down, or when I put it down, waited for a bit, maybe like a couple months even, when I picked it back up again, it flew by so fast. So fast, even though it was all cables, it flew by. And so that was when I was like, oh, maybe because it's a worsted weight yarn and things are kind of like, you know, even though it's all pretty much all over cables, like it's just a thicker yarn and it works up a lot faster. So yeah, it was very enjoyable to work on the second time that I picked it up, and I'm really happy with the results. I think it looks really nice. I love wearing it. I've been wearing it even though I did not have the buttons sewed on until this morning. I have been wearing it and just like keeping it on. I don't know if I would necessarily have the buttons all buttoned up every single time that I wear it, especially now that it's summer. Having it maybe just open a little bit to keep it a little bit more cool would be nice. And that is how I've been wearing it, but it's nice for it to be completely finished now with the buttons. And this yarn feels really nice. It feels like your typical like superwash merino yarn that you get from a hand dyer, I would say. I mean, it's really nice and soft. The cables make it nice and squishy feeling, which I love. And I think that I probably should measure my gauge. I've found that I think that Sari Nordlund's patterns, cabled sweater patterns, I found when I use the recommended like yarn weight. I don't know, I never really used the yarn that she uses, so her yarn could be very different, and most likely is. But I found in multiple of the cabled sweaters I've made from her, my gauge is usually pretty open to meet gauge with the yarn. And let me rephrase that because I just said a lot of words that I was trying to figure out how to say what I'm trying to say. for the cabled pattern from Sari Nordlund, and I can think of this cardigan and I think it's called the Aurora pullover. Is that what it was called? And the Ballard pullover, I think. For all of them, I felt like this one said worsted weight yarn, I believe, and the other sweaters were DK weight yarn. But in a very similar situation for them, knitting them up in the yarn that I chose to be on gauge, I've either had to knit loosely or to go up in needle size to meet gauge, which means that the resulting fabric is pretty airy and like not dense. It's not a dense fabric where the cables are kind of all kind of like, making the fabric even more dense. It's a pretty like loose flowing fabric that gets created. And it's just like a looser gauge versus like the yarn weight that's being used. And so that is something that I have noticed, but I think I prefer that because then it does have a lot of a drapier effect on the cabled fabric versus a fabric that is just like so dense and then you're trying to do all the cables on them that it just becomes kind of stiff. So it is something I noticed, it is why I think maybe the sleeves for me, I do want to mention this, I mentioned it before, but I was told also to consider for the sleeves sizing up, just for the sleeves, the size that you knit and the stitches that you pick up, because a lot of people were saying the sleeves were really small in circumference versus the size that they were making. I used the same sleeve size as the rest of the cardigan size, and it worked out well for me. They're not tight at all. There's actually positive ease for me, but I do think that is because I sized up my needle size. This was when, and I didn't know it at the time, but I used US 6 needles for this top part of the body, and then when I picked up sleeves, that's when I somehow switched to US 7 needles. So I sized up, but I think that helped with the gauge on the sleeves to be a bit looser, and so I didn't have to pick up more stitches and work a different size sleeve in order to get a sleeve that fits nicely for me, at least. But it worked out for me, and I'm happy with the result. Very comfortable. I'm loving wearing it, and I love the yarn color. It's so pretty. I mean, it's a very fall feeling color, and also like a cabled cardigan. It just feels very fall, and I know we're in summer right now, but I'm so happy with this. I'm happy I got it done now so that it's just ready for me to wear whenever I'm feeling like it, and I'm just happy with it. It's very comfortable, very easy to put over anything that I'm wearing, and that is like a good sign of a cardigan for me, is if I'm like, it's like a no fuss cardigan, comfortable. There's a lot of positive ease in all the right places, no bunching of my clothes under it when I put it on, and so it's great. And it's also all over cables, and so it's so pretty. Would I make this again? Probably not, if I'm going to be honest, just because I don't think I need another one exactly like this, and also just all of those modifications in the beginning really kind of like, I don't want to have to go through trying to figure all of that out again. Not that I had to actually figure out anything myself, I just had to, because Meghan compiled all of her information that she got from the other Ravelry user who made the modifications. I just had to read the thing, but I wanted to visualize what was happening. And I guess you could say, now that I know what's happening, that if I made it a second time, it'd be easier to do again, but I would probably not. I'd rather just make a different type of cabled cardigan. But this is beautiful. I love it. I just don't think I need an exact one in this, even if it was a different color. I'm very happy with this and this color, and I'm good. So that was kind of long, but that is my book club cardigan. Okay, let's move on to my finished object of this week. It is the Penelope top by Sari Nordlund. I know, another Sari Nordlund pattern. The yarn I use is Zeezee Textiles Silk Sock in the colorway Nordlys. And I knit size 2. I use US 2.5 needles, which is 3.0 millimeter needles to knit this. And now let me hold it up so you can see it. It is even washed and blocked. Whoa. Can you believe that I actually did that before a podcast episode? Finally. Here it is. It is so pretty. It's so pretty. I love the details on it. I mean, it was kind of like boring and plain, although no complaints on that. Like, knitting stockinette is always great. But the really interesting parts of this come at the end, at the bottom part of this top. And yeah, I'm very, very pleased with the result. I'm glad that it fits. I did try it on. Okay, I do want to talk about, since there's, that bottom part is not something we've talked about or that you've seen the last time. So the part that I worked and I had to take off my progress stitch marker because I, dunked it in water. But I believe you have not seen any of the lace at the bottom. And so it's just a lace chart at the bottom, hem, and then you bind off. And it's really great. It's a pretty easy lace pattern to read. And the repeat is pretty short. Like, I feel like you can probably see it's just kind of like these sections here. What I didn't know is that there were like, and then so this is work top down. And then you do work some eyelet holes, which I think you've probably seen. And as you can tell, those holes are used to string your I-cord through so that you can do this really cute, my favorite part, tie a little bow here with an I-cord. But then there's like increases that happen right after, just like all around. And so that I think it flares out just a little bit, so it's kind of like a peplum-ish kind of top, and also for the lace pattern. But I love how it looks. I am very happy with it. Okay, I do have one thing, and we will also talk about it when I wear it in a future podcast episode. I think that the top part, it actually fit really nicely before washing and blocking. And I think after washing the top part, especially since my gauge was a lot bigger at the top, I think that part blocked out bigger than the other parts. And so the armhole, the armhole depth is like still a little bit too big. And that is the one modification I made knitting this up, is I made the armhole depth shorter than the pattern states, because I think for some reason for Sari Nordlund tanks patterns, the armhole depth is usually pretty big. Sweaters are always fine. Tank tops, always big for me. So I shortened it, but I guess I didn't shorten it enough because, again, after blocking it just got big enough for it to be like just a tad too big. Like if it was even just like half an inch would have been ideal, shorter, but even if it was half an inch shorter, it would have been great. But I think it was just because my gauge was so big, or a lot bigger at the top part, it just blocked out bigger than the rest of it. But the neckline depth is perfect. It is fine. So I would say the only thing, and because now the length and kind of the underarm part is a little bit longer than before blocking, where the I-cord is sitting is a little bit lower than I would have preferred as well. It's just slightly under where my natural waist is, and so I would have liked it to be higher, but it's still wearable and it still looks cute. It's just not quite, it's just a little bit off from what I was aiming for, but it all fits. And also the overall length, I did not want this to be cropped at all. Like I wanted to be very, very comfortable wearing, just like, I didn't want to have to wear like really high-waisted pants with this. I wanted to wear just like my normal, somewhat high-waisted, I mean like pants that will go maybe, I wanted this to cover my belly button. That's kind of like my criteria for cropped or not cropped. And the length is great, and so it's all great. I would love to make this again in maybe a color that's a bit more me. And I say that because, well, I think it looks so pretty in this green color in Nordlys. And the yarn color is not something I would gravitate towards myself, but this is a friend knit, and I think like all of us are Pacific Knit West friend group are knitting tops in this Nordlys colorway, and like I'm gonna say yes to pretty much every group knit, especially if it's a, you know, color knit. And it honestly, I don't think that there will be any color where I would not do if everyone else is doing for, you know, our matching knits for color. It is a very pretty color. It's not one that I feel like, I don't know how I look in this color, but it's a gorgeous color. But what I'm trying to say is I love this top and I love it in this color, but I would also love it in a different color that is more my style. But what's great about it is because now that I know I have like one that's made and I have some tweaks that I would like to do for my next one, that I have this sample for me to kind of model my second one off of to make those adjustments. So what adjustments would I make? I would actually consider making size 1 instead of size 2. And the reason why I was concerned about making size 1 in the first place is my concern with a lot of tank tops is that I don't want it, even if it fits up here nicely and, you know, with some negative ease, that's fine, but I don't want negative ease around my stomach area. I want that to be flowy. I don't want it to be touching me there, like, tightly. And so I erred on the side of bigger for this tank top. But considering some of the things that I've already talked about, where, like, the armhole depth is a little low, which is something I could change. But also, I didn't know that right at the waist part, right after the I-cord edging, that there's some increases that happen. Actually, quite a bit of increases around the body. I didn't know that that was a thing. And so I was like, I think that size 1 could work for me for this one. And fit me in the way that I like. In the proportions of, like, slightly tighter fitting at the top and then more ease right, maybe I would say like right under my bust with like some positive ease there. So that would be probably what I would do for my next one. And I'm already trying to figure out like what yarn would I use to make my next one, because that would be great. And if I could finish it, I mean, I have a lot of summer knits I want to knit this summer, and if the rest of this year is going to go as fast as the beginning part of this year went, I feel like I don't have time. But I would love to at least figure out what yarn I would like to make this in. Probably, it would be so cute in some kind of pink. But maybe even in like a white. I know that that's kind of boring. But I also have a lot of white and also slightly variegated white-ish colored yarn. And it would look nice in this lace, you know, top with a bow. Like, I think it would be cute. Lots of options, but I do feel like this is a great top to, I mean, I could even make it without the I-cord, right? You could make it without the I-cord. You would just have to figure out where you're going to start doing the increases so that you can fit in that lace chart as well. But you could do it without the I-cord. If you don't like that, you don't have to make the holes in it, because that's like, once you do that, you can't really adjust it. But it's so cute with the bow. Of course I'm going to do it with the bow. But yeah, oh gosh, I'm so happy that this one is done. So I have another kind of like time crunch knit. I think that the goal for this was for all of us to get this done by flock, so we can take a picture during flock in this color. But yeah, I'm just glad that I have one more knit that needed to be done, you know, soon-ish, done. So that made me really happy. I did spend a lot of this week working on that, and so I only have 3 knit projects to talk about in the whip section, which we are on now. So really quickly, I'll go through them because I have a lot of spin updates to share with you all. I just have a quick update on my Nolita tank by Tori. This is another kind of like knit-along type of knit, and something I would like to get done before flock, which I think is doable. I just need to like continue working on it. Looks the same probably from when you've last seen it. I'm using Sea Change Fibers Bayshore fingering, held double in the colorway Skyflower, which is this blue, purpley, pink, kind of like little speckly, tweedy parts. And it's not tweed, it's just like different parts of the fiber dyed pink, but it is like a blue color. And then I am knitting size 2. This was another tank top knit where I was like, gonna go size bigger than maybe I need, but I just don't want it to be super tight fitting. Size 2, I'm using US 6 needles, 4.0 millimeter needles to knit this. And all I did this week was just work, oh gosh, like it's not even that many rounds. Here's my progress marker. I just worked a few rounds on this week. It's just in stockinette right now, and so it's really, it should not take me that long. And I'm holding a fingering weight double. Sorry, I'm gonna work on this now just a little bit while I talk about it. I don't know, it's weird to me that it feels like it's taking forever to work up because it is a DK weight pattern. But okay, if this is I'm knitting this as part of a knit-along that I am part of, hosting with Meghan and Emily. It's the PKW Flock You knit-along. It's been going on for a little bit now, and I finished my first project for it. This is a knit-along we're doing for Flock. It ends at the end of Flock, and it's Tori U patterns. So I finished my Metropolitan pullover. That was like my first knit, but it's like not really a summer knit, you know? So I was like, I want to get like a summer knit pattern in. And so I chose this pattern because it newly, came out this summer, and it's very cute. So I decided on this for my second knit for this knit-along. We had our second call for the knit-along on Megan's Discord. Was it earlier this week? I think it was earlier this week. And it was fun. I was only able to join for a little bit. I had to leave it a little bit early, but it was really fun to just like see everyone's progress. We've had a few people who finished, or not just a few, like a good handful of people who finished some projects already for it. I think, so like I'm on my second project for it. Megan's on her second project for it. And I think Emily finished her first ever. I'm pretty sure she said she's never knit, Emily has never knit a Tori U pattern before, and she finished her Avenue vest for it. And so exciting. And she used handspun for it, and the handspun is amazing and so soft. It looks and feels amazing. So I'm so happy for Emily. And we have a few other participants who also finished some tees, and they look great. Yarn choices, also great. Color choices, great. Amazing. So exciting. And so this is what I worked on a little bit during the call. Oh, what I was saying was that someone on the call, because I mentioned, I was like, for some reason, it just feels like I'll work on this for what feels like a good amount of time. And I look down and I'm like, that was just 2 rounds. Like, what the heck? And they were saying that it could be just the yarn, like the choice of yarn, the fiber, and I forget what yarn fiber that they said. Maybe it was like linen, that just for some reason, maybe because it's a little bit harder on the hands to work with, but it just makes it feel like it takes longer. And I was like, that could be it. That's a great theory, because this is a cotton and wool yarn, but it does feel very cottony, not really, almost like no stretch, in it. It feels soft, and it feels like it's going to be a great summer, fabric to wear. But yeah, just knitting with it might just have that feeling on my hands where it's just not going as fast for some reason. I don't know if it's actually not going as fast or just feels like it's slower. But I thought that was an interesting theory on that, because that is the, one difference between this and some other DK weight patterns that I've knit, is that it's like a mostly cotton yarn. But it's going great. It's looking like an actual, tank top. Oh, and I mentioned this last time. This was not part of the progress from this past week, but I do have a light pink yarn leftovers that I used for the contrast color for the armholes and the neck. And I think it's so cute. Very happy with it. I just need to like buckle down and work more on it to get that done. Okay, let's move on to my second thing. And this one I also like only did this just a little bit this week. I'm trying to find which corner. This is my Mitered corner blanket by Purl Soho. I'm freestyling it on the colors and where they go and placement. But this week I did these top 4 little squares. And yeah, it's great. I don't have to look at the pattern to make the squares. And so I can just pick it up whenever I'm feeling and knit a square. And it's all good. And yeah, I'm knitting the size small square because in the Purl Soho pattern you can also make, I think the larger blanket also is larger squares, so just more stitches, but I'm just following the stitch count for the small, and I'm using US 6 needles, 4.0 millimeter needles to knit this. As you can tell, you pick up as you go, and so you don't have to actually sew any of the squares together. Here's the back of it. I weave in my ends I probably should do it after each square, but each square works up so quickly, I kind of do it after. For this one, I just did it after I finished the 4. And they take up really short amount of time. For these ones, because it is just like, you just have 2 ends for each square. You don't switch colors like you would in the Sweet Shop blanket by Laura Penrose, or Penrose Knits. Which I love that blanket. It's a great pattern too, but it is like one difference in it. This one you just have 2 ends per square, but these squares are also smaller, so you'll need more squares to get to the same size blanket anyway. But it's garter stitch, and you just doing decreases. You're working it kind of diagonally, the square. It's a very cool technique to get a square. And I like it. I do like that you can see the decrease line like in the middle of each of the squares. I do like that. I don't know if everyone would like that. You can't see it as much on the wrong side. Actually, you still can. But this one is definitely like raised. But I like that for just how the squares look. Yeah, nothing else to say about it. I'm enjoying it. I'm just realizing that this will probably take me a lot longer to knit up than some of my other squares or other blankets in like last year, especially because I don't really have like a goal how many squares I want to knit every week. So I'm just kind of going with the flow. And this is 12 squares, and it's kind of a small square right now, but it's fine. This is supposed to be a very scrappy blanket that can use up a lot of like my really small leftover yarn from projects, and so I'm just excited to see how much leftover yarn I can use up of this, like especially like the small balls of yarn, which I look at and I'm like, I could make scrappy socks, but I also don't want to do that, so I'm excited. It's going into a blanket. Okay. Well, speaking of socks, I do have an update, my next update, and my last knitting update for this week is my July socks. I have to try and pump these out because I ideally would like to get this done by next week. And I would say I'm on track then to do that because I have finished one side. As you can see, this is my stitch marker, and so last time I'm working these. Oh, let me talk about pattern. This is the Impasto socks by Bridget, and I am using Sewrella yarn classic sock in the colorway California Adventure. I am knitting size 1, and I'm using US 1 needles, 2.25 millimeter needles to knit this. And the one change that I'm making to this is that I switched out the heel instructions to use the Fish Lips Kiss heel because I I like that heel. But that's it. Oh, actually one more thing that that I made a change from the pattern. For the toe decreases, I just added one more decrease than what says for my size, for size 1. Yeah, okay, I think that's it. Let me hold these up so you can see them again. What I have. You can see that there is like a stitch pattern. That is kind of like this. It's hard to see it in this light, but it kind of has this like wavy effect, but going like sideways. So it's not, scalloped like this. It's sideways kind of waves or triangles. I guess depends on how you see it. You can mostly, from the shadows, you can mostly see these lines, which is interesting. I'm trying to, we can see it more on the side. Actually, maybe put my hand here. But what's really interesting about this stitch pattern is that it kind of spirals. Oh, here, you can kind of see it a little bit better. It kind of goes like this. It kind of spirals a little bit. So if you try to follow like what is a straight line, you're not really gonna get it. And also if I just hold the sock like this, you can kind of see that it goes sideways. Like it doesn't really go straight. And also, when I was working this, I noticed my beginning of round, when I was just working the leg part of the sock, I would say like if I were to hold it and be like, this is straight, this would be what straight is. But my beginning of round is like here. Like it started kind of rotating around just because of the way that the increases are done. They just keep going this way, and so it's kind of spiraling your work. And I was wondering how that would work on the foot part of the sock, because there kind of just has to be like a straight like top and bottom part of the sock. You kind of can't have it being twisted. And it is kind of twisting a little bit, but maybe if I hold it like this, you'll see. So I have it right now. The here you can see the side of the sock here, right? And this should be like just on the edge of one side. But if you go up the leg, you can see that it just naturally wants to. It's not going up this way, part of the leg, how most it would. It's kind of curling more towards the front here. Do you see that? Like if you follow just this line, and it just curls this way. So I thought that was interesting. I mean, when I have this on my foot, you can't notice it. But yeah, I'm just like, it is interesting. Yeah, when I hold it just kind of like straight as it wants to just like lay flat, it's on camera. You can't see it though. Can you see it? It's curving this way, just slightly. I'm just, it's not straight up and down. On camera though, it looks straight up and down. Maybe I'm going crazy. Maybe it's just an optical illusion. Who knows? I don't know. It is doing something though, some kind of twisting, but I really do like the look of this stitch pattern, and even in like a very variegated yarn, I think it looks really nice in a really variegated yarn. Would look nice in a more tonal color as well, but I love how it looks in the variegated yarn. Looks great. Okay, so finished one side, and I just like, you gotta cast on. This is my strategy to just like keep going on socks. Just cast on the next one right away and start working on it. And so I did start this one. And yeah, I got through the ribbing at the top, which is always great. I'm working through the pattern right now. Oh, I am in the pattern, which is really, really nice. Oh, and I do want to mention, there are instructions for both cuff down and toe up for this sock pattern in the pattern, which is really great. You can choose. And also I think it's like the notes section of the pattern, she gives you a chart. So there is one chart, you know, to do this. But if you want to, I know like some sock patterns I've made, if you want to make them, you don't want to make the left and right sock like exactly the same in the stitch pattern, especially if it has kind of like a certain lean in the stitch pattern, or like a cable, right? If a cable is crossing this way, then for the other sock you might want to cross it the other way kind of situation. And so Bridget does include a chart that leans the other way for the pattern, and so that is what I'm doing. So I'm going to make two, like, they're not exactly the same sock. They're going to be like, I don't know what word I'm trying to think of, but I think you know what I mean. So that is fun. It just means that I'm like memorized this stitch pattern for this sock, and so I have to like re-memorize this one just because it's now opposite. But it's a pretty short pattern repeat to remember, so it's not going to take me too long. Yeah, I'm really happy with these. I just feel a bit of a time crunch, and this is just a time crunch I'm putting on myself for this. Not anything crazy. Nothing's crazy is going to happen if I don't meet my deadline for these socks, but I would like to get these done by next week for reasons that you will find out later. And that's all the knitting that I have been doing this week. Actually, no, that is false. I have been working on my secret test knit. I'm not going to talk about this every week because it's sad that I can't show it to you all, and I probably won't be able to show it to you until next year. Like, it's going to be a very long time, but I am working on that. So that also took up some of my knitting time. I love it, what I'm working on. I cannot wait to show it to you all, but it's going to be some time. So I won't take up too much time talking about that, but let's get right into the spinning talk, because it was the first full week of Tour de Fleece, I believe. And last time we talked, I did not even start spinning yet. So I got a late start on Tour de Fleece this year. I changed my plans. I was going to do a sweater spin, and I changed to just spinning things that I bought from Flock last year in preparation for Flock this year. And I am doing great. I'm so excited to show you all what I have been working on. Oh, before I talk about that, I know that was a bit of a tease on that. I want to mention that I am, maybe you can see it, like it's not really, they're lying over here right now. I am trying to wind off my Zeezee Textiles Rambouillet sweater spin, the Elberdritchel spin. I do want to just let me just pick up one of these to show you all now that I have some wound off. They're not washed yet, but I do want to just show you all. Aha! My Elberdritchel sweater spin. It's so good. It's so pretty. It feels so nice and soft, and just like a Rambouillet wool fiber would feel. Also, the colors just has so much depth. I love it. I love that there's so many different colors in it, but it's like a mostly, blue purple color, but you can see like the reds and the greens in there. Gorgeous. Love. And so I have 2 more bobbins to wind off, and when I wind off the bobbins onto my my Nitty Naughty, I do count the yardage on my Nitty Naughty, and that is, it just takes me, I need to be in the zone to count for a very long time to wind off everything. So I have 2 more to go. I'm hoping to do that right after I film this. Also because I am still filming parts of this sweater spin for my spin with me video. Oh gosh, this is taking me so long to make that all the clips are gonna be like so far apart in terms of like where they are. Of course, far apart from when I filmed them, but I need to keep track of all of the clips just because they are just, I've been doing them very sparsely throughout this year. So, yeah, I need to film me winding off some of them on the Nitty Naughty, and so that is why there's 2 more to wind off. But I'm hoping to get that done. I just wanted to point that out because that is what these are here. Okay, now let me talk about my spins for Tour de Fleece, because let me just hold it up first, okay? I spun this past week, just 1 week. So let me talk about the first one that I started off with. And I've shown these fibers from last week's video. This is the Skagit Woolen Roving fiber. It was the Targhee Alpaca, so it's 70% Targhee, 30% Alpaca, and the colorway is Posie. It's this really cute, like, purpley pink color. You'll see this was my leftover skein. The way that I had like 2 bundles of this, I don't know two skeins, they weren't in braids, they were in like skein form of fiber. Each were 2 ounces, and so this is a total of 4 ounces of fiber right here. And so I just it's all one color, and so I just plied one of them onto one bobbin, I spun one of them onto one bobbin, and then I spun the other on the other bobbin, and then I plied them together. So this is a 2-ply, and I decided that I was going to, I could not tell if this fiber, I think that it was like a comb top, like I think the fibers were all like in a line, but I really wanted to do some long draw with this fiber, and so I just did a long draw, and it worked out great. So I do believe that this is probably a semi-woolen spun yarn now. So it does have a lot of like kind of like fibery bits kind of poking out, and I think it feels nice. I do tend to over-ply or over-spin my woolen spun when I do a long draw drafting technique. I'm kind of spinning out words here. Might not really make sense, but I kind of overspin them or over-ply them a lot. So I was really trying to not do that, and I think that I did a pretty good job so that it doesn't feel too ropey. The yarn was surprisingly less soft spun up than I was expecting it to. So that could be just how I spun it as well, but it does feel a bit rougher than I was expecting, which is interesting. It does have that poof from the Targhee, and I think the alpaca is the part actually that makes it feel, I think it's what makes it feel smooth, but I think the hair might be longer, or the fiber is longer in the alpaca potentially, and so it does kind of have this like, I don't want to say rope feel, but maybe more of like a hair feel than like a floof kind of feel to it. I don't know if this would necessarily be like a neck, close to like my neck or anywhere that feels kind of sensitive kind of thing close up, which it was a bit sad because I was like, Targhee and alpaca, would be really soft. Again, this could just be how I spun it, but I think the skein came out nice. I'm happy with it. Also a little leftover. And again, anytime I spin, pretty much, if I have leftovers, I always have leftover after plying. I just wind it into a center pull ball, and then I do a 2-ply of it. But yeah, color is really fun and happy. And this took me, I think, like 3 days, which was shocking. And I was like, is that because I've always heard that, like, oh, when you long draw, it's like really fast. And so you can spin things up really fast. And I never felt like that was the case for me. And it's hard to tell because I feel like with like a short forward, which is how I would do my other kind of drafting, it's shorter lengths, and I'm doing them more often. So it feels like it's going faster versus a long draw where I'm kind of like, I do this and that motion's fast, but then I'm waiting. I have to wait for the twist to all get into it. Because in the beginning, I have had issues of my single plies breaking because they were just not spun enough. And so long draws like fast to do, get like a length going, but then I have to wait for it to get, get tighter, and then I, pull it in. But maybe this time around it did work up faster. Because I don't know how else to explain how I did 4 ounces of this in like 3-4 days. It was crazy. So, yeah, that was fun. Oh, I did not washer finish these yet. These are straight off of the bobbin pretty much. But that was the first one. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I have time to do another one. Let's do another. I'm going to keep spinning. Not going to stop spinning, especially during Tour de Fleece. But I was like, I'm going to pick my next one. And this is my next one. So this was the Sincere Sheep Merino Alpaca Roving. It is 65% Merino, Cormo, Lincoln, Wensleydale, and 35% Surrey Alpaca. And it's like this light brown kind of color, and this one's so soft. I feel like you can, I can just hold it, you can tell it's drooping over, and this feels very alpaca-like, what I was expecting more from the other one, which did have alpaca in it, but maybe the Targhee just kind of overwhelmed the alpaca-ness of it. But this one, definitely so droopy and soft. Some parts of it I might have overspun, a little bit ropey feeling, but other than that, I feel like I did a pretty good job of keeping that lightness and softness in the yarn. I also spun this long draw. I think that this could be, it's either a semi-woolen or a woolen spun yarn. The fiber on this too, it again came in like a skein, and when I took it off, both of these, the fiber, once I unwound it from the skein, I guess a sliver of the fiber that I got wasn't as thick as some of the the hand dyed fiber that I get. Sometimes the hand dyed fiber is this thick, and I'm like, I definitely have to pull that apart vertically so that it's easier for me to spin from or to draft from. But these ones already came out kind of on the thinner side, maybe like this. And so I didn't have to do, all I did was unwind it from the skein, and then I rolled it up into a ball so that it's just easier for me to hold, and then I spun straight from it. No prep or, tearing off sections to spin. This one, again, the fiber came in 2 ounces per skein of the fiber, and so I had 2 of them, spun them each on different bobbins and plied them together. So this is a total of 4 ounces of that fiber, and I had a bit more left over, slightly more uneven of my spinning, I think, between each of the skeins, but overall I'm very happy. This had less yardage than I was expecting for 4 ounces of this fiber, and for doing a woolen spun yarn, which I feel like in theory would you probably get more yardage from woolen spun because it's more airy, and so you get more yardage for less fiber, going into it. But either way, I'm really happy with the spin. Feels great. Does not feel super ropey, which is great. And I got great practice so far. I spun 8 ounces this week total of doing a long draw. So I've gotten more practice with it, and it's been some time since I've done that, and so it felt really good to do it again, and it's really fun. Doing a long draw is really fun, so very happy. It looks, I definitely have in both of these some sections that are a lot thicker actually than some other sections, but overall not bad in terms of consistency. Yeah, this one has a lot more of that poofiness that you can just kind of tell is a woolen drafted technique, but that I love. I do still think that this might be a little more pokey than I would like for if I use this for a scarf or something, potentially, but it does have that drape, and it is smooth and soft to touch. There's just some roughness in some areas. But yeah, this was fun to spin. This whole week was really, I think, was really nice and refreshing for my spinning. I've been working on mostly my Elberdritchel sweater spin, and even though I love that fiber and it's so pretty, it is just a lot of fiber to go through, and I was starting to feel a little bit like, I have to spin that. But this week, maybe it's the combination of just like different fibers that I'm spinning, also doing it long draw versus a short forward drafting technique. I felt really like nice and like, ooh, like motivated, and like it was fun. That is all I mostly spun this week. And that's why there's slightly less knitting to talk about this week. It was mostly spinning. And part of it is also like Tour de Fleece, but yeah, this week was fun for my spinning. Felt really good. I feel recharged for my spinning kind of like mojo. So it was great. Really happy about that. So my next spin, my next fiber that I'm going to do is going to be the other one, just the other fiber that I talked about last week. The Fiber and Flame Fin Wool. And I have, again, these are 2 ounces, each of these like skeins, because they are twisted up like yarn skeins. I have 2 of these in this dark brown color, and then I have 2 in the brown, light brown color. And I'm still unsure if I'm going to ply them together or not. But later today, we are going to go over to Maya's house, and we're going to spin. We have a really fun spin day, and so I'm bringing this fiber there to start spinning, and so I'm going to consult with the group and see if I should ply the light and dark brown together or just keep them separate. So we'll see what I end up doing. And I do believe that this is like a woolen prepped fiber, and so I will be doing this long draw as well, and that would be like a full like woolen spun, not semi-woolen spun yarn, fiber yarn. Yeah, I'm excited to try out this fin wool, and it's so light, and it feels amazing, and so I'm excited to see how that spins, and yeah, that should be fun. That I will say that today's spinning adventure, which is basically going over to Maya's, did push me to like have to finish. So when I finished this earlier this week, this is my first spin, like cast on. I don't know how you would, is it a cast on? Not really. Yeah, just start of the spin. When I finished this pretty, like in the middle of the week, I was like, ooh, I want to have my bobbins ideally empty for going over to Maya's today, because I want to start a spin. Or basically was like, if I start this and I'm like almost done or partly done, I don't want to have to like be like partly in the middle of a project while I bring my wheel over, which also would have been fine, and I've done it before. But then I was like, how much would I get done? I would have to bring all my bobbins. I would have to ply. I wouldn't want to, actually, basically, I was like, I don't want to ply at Maya's house, because I would just have to bring, like my, what's it called? My Lazy Kate, to have the bobbins on to pull from. And I was like, I would like to just bring less things. I would like to just be spinning, or basically spinning my singles while I'm there. And so I was like, I gotta get this one done so I can clear the bobbins. And so that is partly what was the motivation for getting all of that done this week. But I am so excited to start another spin later today. And it should be good. I would love, oh my gosh, if I could finish that spin, because that total is 8 ounces as well, all of that fin wool that I have. If I could finish that all this coming week as well, that would be great. That would be crazy. That would be fun. No pressure for me to do it. But if I'm in the spinning mood, I feel like I should just like keep on spinning. So it's possible and would be really fun. Okay, but that is now all of the spinning updates I have. I do have one sewing update from last time. And honestly, it's just something that I did this morning. When I said that I was already sewing buttons onto something, and that's why I sewed the buttons onto my book club cardigan. It is that I was sewing the buttons onto my dress that I showed you all last time, the Noe dress by my friend Rumor. And so here it is. I mean, it basically looks the same. It just now has buttonholes. Okay, there's 12 buttons on this because it is like a full-length dress. There's 12 buttons. I also bought buttons online that came in the mail earlier this week. So, you know, I finally had buttons to sew on this. And I was like, I should just do it while the motivation is here. Or like while the dress is... I don't want to leave it hanging for too long. But I had to make... I mean, the sewing the button holes and then, you know, cutting open the holes is actually quite fun. Because the sewing machine just does it. It's crazy. I'm like, that is so cool. But I always have the trickiest time doing it at like usually right at the top part where the fabric is a lot thicker because there's more things that are folded. And so I had to, oh my gosh, I had to like, started it and the machine got stuck. I had to like rip it out. I had to rip out all the thread like multiple times. So that was quite annoying. But the rest of the buttons were very easy to make. I did all of that. I ripped, you know, open the buttonholes, and then I realized I put the buttonholes on the wrong side of the dress. So the buttonholes are on the left side of the dress when they should be on the right side. But I was not, I mean, if I didn't already rip open the holes, I would have considered, although probably not, you know, ripping out all of the thread and redoing it on the other side. But I already ripped open the holes, and I was like, well, that's that. It will just be on the opposite side. And it's fine. It's not like it messes with the sizing of the dress or anything. And it actually works out better. Let me hold it up so you can actually see something while I'm talking about this and not just me. You can see maybe, you know, the buttonholes are on the left side of the dress, but it's fine. But it probably worked out for the best because, let me undo this top one. Because this top portion, the left side looks a lot cleaner and more straight than this side. You can see this part just kind of pokes out a little bit right here. So if this was on the top, again, I mean, it would be fine, but it is not the cleanest side. And so it does actually kind of work out better for me. But it's going to be kind of weird, just awkward to put on the buttons. But if you can see, I found these really cute small flower buttons. And they came in a pink. Actually, I got a pack where they're pink and white. They're kind of clear. And they have a little gold like center. But I think they're so cute with the dress, like the fabric pattern, because there's already flowers on it, and I have some small pink flowers for all of the buttons that go down the dress. There's a lot of them. There's 12 of them. So, but yeah, so now, okay, and then since I was like already working on this, I was like, okay, I should rip out all of the basting stitches that I had to do to make all of the ruffles, and so I did that as well. I tried to cut as much of the extra thread that I could see as much as possible. I couldn't get them all because there's like a bajillion of them, but I tried my best, and so now I can say this is finished. It is completed now. And okay, I'm a little sad because I must have messed up somewhere with my sewing, but the armhole depth on this is quite small. I can fit my arm through, but it is really kind of like bunching in there. And so I either picked the wrong size or I just sewed something too much. I don't know, but I probably should have picked up one size up from this to sew, but I can fit it on my body, and it looks really cute, and I'm very proud of it. Very proud of it. I sewed a whole dress this year. And yeah, So I will maybe wear this in a future podcast episode if I like don't have any new knits to wear on a podcast episode. I probably should just like start wearing some of my sewn projects, but I have another sewing project that I'm hoping to get done this summer as well. It's pants. Well, it's shorts. It's more like pajama shorts, but I feel like it would be a good way to venture into making sewing pants. I've never sewn pants before. So it should be interesting. I just gotta cut out the pattern and do all of that. So, and I think it'll be faster to make that than it did to make this dress. So hopefully it'll ease me back into sewing. This dress was the easing me back into sewing, but it was like a lot of things, and so I need an easy project. Hopefully these pants are easy. They're shorts. It should be like comfy shorts with an elastic band. It should be, cross fingers, it should be easy and quicker to do than this dress. But yeah, so that's it for my updates for this week. Thank you so much for listening, and let me know, update me. How are your Tour de Fleece plans going if you are participating in Tour de Fleece? If you are not a spinner and not participating in Tour de Fleece, let me know what projects you're working on. I'm feeling very much in the summer mood right now for knits. I want to wear all of my summer knits. I want to knit all the summer knits right now. And so I'm feeling very much in the vibe of that, knitting with like summer fiber yarn. So yeah, let me know how's it going so far. We're like halfway through July, which is crazy. I mean, maybe not quite yet halfway through, but almost there. It's double digits. It's July 12th. What the heck? Where is July going? Yeah, because after July, it's August, and that's flock. Whoa, crazy. Also, if you have flock plans, curious to know, I have not started doing any flock planning besides just that I'm going and what knit things I want to finish and wear and make, or not make. Well, yeah, finish the making to wear there and all of that. So I need to start looking at the vendor list and all of that, figuring out who I want to look at booth-wise. I'll probably will just like, walk around like how I did last year, but some planning might be good for me this year. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below. And I hope you all had a great week. I hope you all have a great upcoming week. And yeah, I think I'm going to do a lot more spinning this coming week, so we'll see what my updates are for next week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in next week's video. Bye!